During the divorce, our younger son wanted to go with his wealthy mother, but she chose our older son, the one with the better grades. Ryan was heartbroken, so I tried to console him. Who says you can't make something of yourself coming from nothing? I believe in you, son. He buried himself in his books in my small rental apartment, and I worked day and night to support him. Finally, he aced his college entrance exams, while our older son, Ethan, the one with all the expectations, completely bombed. My ex-wife, Isabella, immediately posted on social media, "That's my boy." Then she extended an olive branch to Ryan. I thought he would stay, but he immediately grabbed the debit card from the kitchen counter, bought a bus ticket, and left, not even caring that I was sick. "I'm sorry, Dad, but I want to be with my mom," he said, "but I'll always be grateful for what you did." I didn't have the money for the surgery. I died soon after. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day of the divorce, the day we had to choose. "I don't want Mommy to go boo." Ryan clutched the hem of Isabella's designer blazer, looking up at her with pleading eyes, hoping she would pick him. But Isabella was already holding Ethan's hand. It was the exact same scene as before. Last time, she had taken Ethan, the top student in his grade, without a moment's hesitation. I don't know if I was imagining it, but Ryan's expression suddenly shifted. He grabbed Isabella's arm with both hands. "Mom, you have to pick me. I'm the one who gets a perfect score on the SATs." My heart skipped a beat. Ryan was reborn too? Before I could process it, Isabella suddenly let go of Ethan and seized Ryan's hand. "Silly boy, I want to pick you all along." She pushed Ethan toward me. "David, Ethan's grades are better. I'll leave him with you, so things will be a little easier for you." I was dumbfounded. In that single instant, I understood. Isabella was also reborn. Ethan didn't seem to notice anything. He just stood silently by my side. In my last life, he was the same way, quiet and unassuming, letting others decide his fate. Even after Isabella took him, he would secretly send me money anonymously. It wasn't until he failed his exams that I realized he wasn't as happy as he seemed. But by then, I was already worn down by illness from working to support Ryan. I didn't have the energy to look into it. "Bro, you better not resent Mom, just because she's broke now. I'm going to be the one with the perfect SAT score anyway. You should probably find a different path. Maybe you can help Dad out with odd jobs, maybe open a little food truck, and end up marrying some girl with more tattoos than teeth." Hearing his snide remarks, I grabbed Ethan's hand. He will be the one who aces the SATs. I rarely spoke with such conviction. Isabella froze for a second, then tightened her grip on Ryan's hand. "David, we were married once. Let me give you some friendly advice. Ethan isn't going to be a top scorer. He won't even get into a state school. Don't waste your energy." Before I could respond, a clear voice cut through the air, sharp and resolute. "I will be the top scorer." Everyone stared in surprise at the usually silent Ethan. Isabella scoffed. "What did you say?" I said, "I will be the top scorer." A few muffled snickers turned into loud laughter. Ryan wiped tears of mirth from the corner of his eye. "You can't make a silk purse out of sow's ear, bro. You're hilarious." Isabella pulled him toward the door. "All right, sweetie, let's not waste our time with these ordinary people. Mommy's taking you home. How about you meet a new friend of mine, a nice man?" "Okay." I squeezed Ethan's hand. If this mother and son were so certain, then I would just have to show them. We would see who was truly worthy of being a top scorer. When Isabella divorced me, she left me with nothing but this old house built in the last century. I first cleared out a room for Ethan, setting up a place for him to study. As I was about to clean the rest of the house, I found the entire place was already spotless. I looked in surprise at Ethan, who was mopping the floor. "Didn't I tell you to rest?" He wiped sweat from his brow. "I'm helping you, Dad. You don't have to. The high school entrance exams are coming up. You need to focus on getting into Northwood Prep's honors program." But he took a step back, still holding the mop. "Dad, I already know all that stuff. Just let me help you." I frowned. "What?" "I've already learned all of the material." I thought he meant he had studied ahead. I shook my head. "That's not good enough. Reviewing is key. People forget things." "I won't forget, Dad. Don't worry. This time, I'll make sure you have a good life." I froze. In Ethan's eyes, there was something that didn't belong to a boy his age. Could it be he was also reborn? Ethan and Ryan were still in the same class. When I dropped Ethan off at school, I saw Ryan, already decked out in designer clothes, being chauffeured in a luxury SUV. He passed by my beat-up electric scooter and glanced at Ethan. Puffed. He snorted with laughter. How pathetic. I didn't get it. He had ridden on this scooter before in his past life. Why was he so angry back then at the rich kids who mocked him? I guess right and wrong are never absolute. It all depends on where you stand. I turned around. Nervous, Ethan. Today was the Tri-State Academic Championship, a major factor in selecting students for the honors program. He shook his head. Not at all, Dad. I'll make us some pot roast for lunch when I get home. From a short distance away, we heard Ryan's disdainful snort. He was mocking us to his new rich friends. I don't get how some people can smile while riding on that piece of junk. One of his friends looked over. Hey, isn't that Ethan Miller? The guy who's #1 in our grade. Ryan, your brother is way smarter than you. Ryan's smug expression immediately soured. Is it fun for you to keep saying he's smarter than me? He turned and glared at us. After this exam, I'll show all of you who's really #1. Ethan and I looked him up and down, then suddenly burst out laughing. Ethan asked me, Dad, what are you laughing at? I'm laughing at a pig in a tuxedo. You. Same as you, Dad. Ryan's face turned green. The results of the tri-state exam came out quickly. Unfortunately, Ethan was ranked second. First place went to Ryan, whose score was significantly higher than in his previous life. And there was only one spot in the honors program. When we got home that day, Ethan clutched the test paper, his fist slamming down on his desk. Northwood Prep was one of the biggest feeder schools to the Ivy League. The moment the early admissions list was announced, Ryan and Isabella were flooded with attention. Isabella rode the wave of publicity, and she and her new husband donated an entire building to the middle school. The local education journal interviewed Isabella. She draped an arm around Ryan's shoulder, beaming. I have always been very focused on this child's education. You should see the study I set up for him. It was magnificent, equipped with everything imaginable. In contrast, the study space I made for Ethan was bare bones. But to my surprise, he laughed. Just like before. All style, no substance. I watched as the gloom in his eyes began to fade. Don't worry, Dad. In the next championship, I will be #1. Why? My brother just moved in with Mom. He needs to make a splash, so he used memories he shouldn't have to get a good score. But deep down, he hates studying. He's impatient. Now that he's got the honor spot, he won't even try. That's my chance. His thinking mirrored my own. But I play dumb. How did you suddenly figure all that out? Because all the books in his new study are just empty props from Mom's office. They're just for show. Good. His powers of observation were much better than Ryan's. Ever since getting into the honors program, Ryan had become incredibly arrogant. Not only did he openly mock his brother at school for being inferior, but he also deliberately took Ethan's review materials, leaving him to sit through lectures with nothing. He and his rich friends would watch the spectacle from the side. But he never expected that in the next academic championship, the brother he looked down on would beat him by a full 60 points. The school administration noted that 60 points was a significant gap. Although they didn't say they would take action, a crisis was brewing for Ryan. It wasn't unheard of for an honors student to be replaced by someone more exceptional. You did that on purpose, didn't you? I told everyone I'd have them over to my house after I placed first. Ryan blocked our path as I was picking Ethan up from school. I pulled Ethan behind me. You blame others for surpassing you because you're not good enough. I don't remember having a sore loser for a son. Dad, you... Tears instantly welled up in his eyes. In his last life, I had truly coddled him, protecting him from any and all hardship. The result was that now, a single harsh word from me was enough to make him crumble. Move, or I'm driving through. I started the electric motor. The wind whipped his hair around his face as he stood behind us, flailing his arms in impotent rage. Our laughter drifted back on the wind. He hugged my waist. Dad, you're so cool. The next day, the championship results were suddenly changed. Ryan was the new #1, and Ethan, who had been ahead by 60 points, was now disqualified from the rankings. I immediately called the teacher. Mr. Miller, it's a fact that Ethan cheated. The school board is already questioning the validity of his previous scores. It's likely they'll expel him from the honors track and move him to the general studies F track. He would never cheat. Mr. Miller, I understand how you feel, but this is the board's decision. There's nothing we can do. My heart went cold. The F track was for students who were confirmed not to be on a college path. Although Ethan had the ability to succeed anywhere, the atmosphere there was terrible. He might still get into high school, but he probably wouldn't make it into Northwood Prep. Crash! A plate shattered on the floor. I turned around. Ethan was staring at me, his face pale and distraught. The F track. No, I can't go there. Dad, I can't go there, I'll die. I paused. I suddenly remembered that in our past life, a wealthy girl had relentlessly pursued him. Could this be connected to his failure in the college entrance exams? On the TV, the local education channel was featuring another interview with Isabella. She was glowing with success. I told you my son was a golden boy. A 60-point lead like that, it's impossible for someone to achieve on their own. I clenched my fists. The cheating allegation had been confirmed overnight, and the school board had reached a unanimous decision with suspicious speed. But considering Isabella had just donated a building to the school, it all started to make sense. That day, I waited for Isabella outside her company's building. "Ms. Reyes, I need to discuss something with you." My tone was calm. I was her ex-husband, and she was currently in the media spotlight. She couldn't very well throw me out in front of everyone, so she had no choice but to invite me into her office. "Ethan's situation. You orchestrated it, didn't you?" I said, getting straight to the point. She only hesitated for a moment before sinking nonchalantly into her executive chair. "That kid Ethan just doesn't have what it takes." "And what makes you think that?" "Because I can see the future. Because I see the bigger picture better than you do." Her voice rose. "David, let me be honest with you. Even though Ethan's grades are okay for now, he's a lost cause. When it counts, he's useless. Ryan is the chosen one." I stared at her coldly. She shifted uncomfortably under my gaze. "All right, you're my first, after all. How about this? If you promise not to make a fuss when Ryan gets his acceptance letters, I'll let you share in some of the glory. How does that sound?" I looked at her for a long time, then laughed out loud. "You talk as if you're some kind of brilliant strategist, Isabella. If you're really as clairvoyant as you claim, why did you choose Ethan in the first place?" She shot up from her chair, her expression changing rapidly. "You too." I stood up slowly. "We both know the whole story. I'm advising you not to take this too far. Otherwise, I can't be sure how long you'll remain CEO." Her fist slammed down on the desk. "You think being reborn gives you the power to challenge me? You're welcome to try." When I got home, the official disciplinary notice for Ethan had arrived. The school board had decided to send the cheater to the F track. They expected me to beg. But I just calmly went to the school and arranged for Ethan to take a leave of absence until the high school placement exams. "You just focus on studying. As long as I'm here, no one can bully you," I said, stroking Ethan's hair. "So, my brother couldn't handle the shame, huh? Calling a leave of absence, but really you're just hiding a home, right?" Ryan and a few of his rich friends spread vicious rumors about Ethan all over school. The school's online forum was instantly filled with slander. I shielded Ethan from the news, letting him focus on preparing for his exams. With his memories from the last life, he didn't need a teacher for this final stretch. He just needed a review. Under my careful protection, Ethan successfully completed the placement exams. On the way to pick him up, I saw a girl grabbing his backpack strap, refusing to let him leave. For a rare moment, Ethan was flustered and angry. "Let go. I told you I'm not interested in you." The girl was dressed in designer clothes and heavy makeup, yanking on his bag to keep him there. "You think because I'm in the F track, I won't be on your level later? Don't worry, Ethan. I can get into Northwood Prep. If my dad makes a call, I can even get into the honors program. And even if I can't, I can give you a lot of money. How about it?" Ethan's terrified reaction when he heard he was being sent to the F track made my stomach tighten. This girl was also from the F track. Could she be the reason he failed in his past life? I suddenly recalled a news story from my previous life. A girl, heartbroken, had brutally attacked her crush right before the college entrance exams. "Let him go." I stepped in and pulled her away. "My son said he's not interested. Didn't your parents teach you not to force yourself on people?" The girl laughed arrogantly. "And you must be our dad." "Don't. I don't have a daughter like you." She remained dismissive. "But sir, do you know who my father is?" Ethan tugged on my sleeve and whispered, "The richest man in the city." "Oh, a bit more powerful than Isabella, then. It's no loss for Ethan to be with me. And your financial situation doesn't look too good, does it? If you let Ethan date me, you won't have to worry about money ever again." I started to laugh. "The pocket change your father has, I'm not interested in." A man who wasn't even middle class, turning his nose up at the city's wealthiest family. The girl almost burst out laughing. Before she could, a figure darted out from behind her. "Kinsey, didn't you say you were coming over to my place? Why didn't you wait for me?" Ryan casually slung an arm around the girl's shoulder, shooting Ethan a venomous glare from the side. "Bro, shouldn't you be leaving?" I froze. Ryan was into this girl. At this point, it was clear that this girl was very likely the cause of Ethan's failure in his past life. I immediately started my scooter and sped away with Ethan. I'd leave the romance drama to Ryan. Hopefully, they'd stay wrapped up in it all the way through their SATs. Although we had no intention of competing, Ryan had already made Ethan his imaginary rival. During the break after the placement exams, he sweet-talked the girl into going on trips with him, constantly posting pictures on Instagram to show off, and then messaging Ethan, "Bro, Mom already convinced Uncle Julian. Kinsey is going to marry me. If you don't back off, I won't care about brotherly bonds." Then he sent me a message, "Dad, you better control your son." Of course, I was controlling him. I was keeping him away from immature love, and giving him a chance to redeem himself. There was no better form of control than that. Only Ryan, lost in a phony, hedonistic world with a rich girl, gradually forgot what was important. Just because you get a second chance doesn't mean you're guaranteed to succeed. The only constant in this world is change. Sure enough, when Northwood Prep started, Ethan, with his outstanding scores, completely overshadowed Ryan and was chosen as the student representative to speak at the opening assembly. I sat in the audience, watching Ryan, who had a speech prepared, turn red with anger. Why? I'm the honors student. I was admitted early. His friends deliberately provoked him. Your brother only lost points on his essay for the placement test. If you really do the math, he did even better than you did in that championship. Oomph. Ryan threw his speech on the ground and stomped on it until it was shredded. He turned his head and saw his so-called fiancée, Kinsey Thompson, clapping wildly for Ethan. Bitch! He shot a hateful glare at Ethan on stage and stormed off. In the exams that followed, Ryan fought back with everything he had. But he was consistently outmatched by Ethan. He tried to claim his brother was cheating again, but after Ethan placed first time and time again, few people believed the accusation. I breathed a small sigh of relief. Until one weekend, when I didn't get a call to pick up Ethan, I knew something was wrong. It wasn't until dark that his teacher finally called me. Mr. Miller, Ethan is being investigated at school. He bullied a fellow student. The school is planning to expel him. My hand trembled. You said, bully. That's right. Ethan Miller bullied Ryan Miller. The school administration is taking this very seriously. I gripped my phone tightly. The teacher was right. The administration was indeed taking it very seriously. Local news was all over it. Ryan, his eyes red, faced the cameras. I didn't mean to go with my mom. We were just kids. We didn't know any better. Just because mom has more money, my brother couldn't stand to see me happy. He acts like a good student, but behind my back, he corners me in the bathroom and kicks me. He lifted his shirt to show everyone the bruises on his stomach. I could tell at a glance it was just makeup, but the story spread like wildfire, and there was no stopping it. If my mom wasn't willing to stand up for me, I'd still be suffering in silence. I clenched my fists. Fine. Isabella Reyes, was it? I went straight to Reyes Holdings. In the CEO's office, Isabella leaned back in her chair, slowly lacing her fingers together. I did it. So what? You think I'm being too harsh on Ethan, don't you? It was just to scare him a little. I looked at her coldly. So what do you want? He bullied Ryan. It's his fault. But he's my son too, and I don't want him to lose his chance at an education. Don't worry, I'll just have him move to the C track. The teaching staff there is terrible, but Ethan is a smart kid. He'll succeed wherever he goes. Slam. I slapped my hand on her desk and stood up. Don't act like you're so noble. You and I both know Ethan has never bullied him. It's your precious son who's constantly picking fights with Ethan. Isabella's gaze turned icy. And what can you do about it? Slam. I threw a pile of documents on her desk, then leaned over, meeting her eyes. You think you're the only one who can play the media game? Isabella skeptically opened the file. The more she read, the greener her face became. The multimillionaire CEO, the gentle and responsible wife, Chicago's most iconic female entrepreneur. If it got out that you had an affair and a secret child during your marriage, do you think you could hold onto your position? Isabella looked at the complete chain of evidence, her hands trembling slightly. A few seconds later, she placed the file on the desk. This is over. I took the file back. Smart. As I was leaving, she called out to me, her eyes cold and sinister. David, I'm only letting you get away with this once. I turned back. We've both been through death once. I suggest you update your perspective along with your new life. Not long after I left her office, I heard the sound of a glass shattering from inside. She was never one to be suppressed. Sure enough, my words had gotten under her skin. The news stories accusing Ethan of bullying vanished overnight, replaced with a simple statement that it was all a misunderstanding. When I went to pick Ethan up, Ryan blocked my way. Dad, I'm your younger son. My brother bullied me, and you helped him. Did he? I grabbed his arm, lifted his shirt, and wiped hard at his so-called bruise. The makeup immediately smeared. He quickly pulled away, taking 2 steps back. Maybe I was wrong, but you helped a bully without even knowing the truth. Do you have any family loyalty? Do you even consider me your son anymore? I sneered and held up a finger. First, a backstabbing idiot has no right to talk to me about loyalty. Second, the moment you were so eager to run off with your mother, you stopped being my son. He had been coddled his whole life, completely accustomed to my affection. When people lose something they've taken for granted, they scramble to get it back. Tears welled in his eyes. You're just playing favorites. You've always loved him more. Seeing his tantrum, A plan began to form in my mind, and my expression softened. All right, son, Dad was just teasing you. The truth is, you're my favorite. But Ethan is living with me, so I can't just ignore him, can I? He sniffled. You're only siding with him because his grades are better than mine, aren't you? Siding with him? Of course not. Let me tell you a secret. He doesn't have any real advantages. The teachers at your school are old friends of mine. Before every big test, I asked them to tutor Ethan privately. Ryan's eyes lit up. Really? Of course. Dad, a hesitant voice called out. Ethan was staring at me in disbelief. Ryan, who had been looking pitiful just a moment before, immediately became disdainful. He wiped his tears, lifted his chin, and strode away. Dad, is that really what you think of me? I hadn't expected Ethan to overhear us. I was about to explain, but then he suddenly broke into a grin. Dad, brilliant move. Ethan and I were on the same page. After that, Ethan's grades were consistently at the bottom of his class. If the school hadn't eliminated its policy of failing out the lowest-ranking students, he would have been demoted to the B track. At first, Ryan was skeptical, but after seeing his brother at the bottom of the list several times in a row, he completely believed my lie. From then on, he stopped paying attention in class and let himself go completely. The truth was, the exam questions were the same as in his past life. Ryan had a decent memory. A good cram session before a test was enough to maintain his rank. He became increasingly arrogant and completely let his guard down around Ethan. Only I knew that after every test, Ethan would toss his disastrous-looking exam paper into the trash and mutter, getting easier and easier. Controlling your scores is an art form. Only someone who knows all the answers can do it perfectly. 3 years flew by. As the school's golden boy, Ryan was featured prominently by the local news channel in the lead-up to the SATs. He was as full of himself as he had been 3 years prior when he got into the honors program. When the host asked if he was aiming for a top-tier state school or a private university, he just smiled. You should be asking if I'm choosing Harvard or Yale. I knew this was Isabella's doing, but it didn't matter. Let them boast. The higher they climbed now, the harder they would fall. After the last exam, I waited anxiously outside the testing center. But then I saw a familiar girl grabbing Ethan's arm. Ethan, the exams are over. We're both adults now. Just say yes, please. It was Kenzie. I was about to rush over, but another figure had already beaten me to it. Bro, we're engaged. Have some decency. Ryan pulled Kenzie behind him, acting as if she were the one being harassed. Ethan was furious. You need to control your damn fiancé. Kenzie blinked. What are you doing here? Ryan's face was contorted with rage. If I hadn't come, were you planning to run off with this guy? What? No, of course not. It was just a moment of weakness. Ryan glared at Ethan. I knew you were only pretending to be a good guy. You're just trash who goes around seducing other people's women. Worse than a whore. Slap. My hand struck his face. You shameless piece of work. How did I ever father you? Ryan clutched his cheek, stunned. Dad, you hit me? I followed up with a punch. Got a problem with it? Tears streamed down his face as he clenched his jaw. Fine. Fine. You treat me like this. Just wait. When I'm the top scorer in the nation and I inherit Reyes Holdings, you two won't have a place left in this city. I watched coldly as he stormed off, dragging Kenzie with him. The day the SAT scores were released, Isabella nearly lost her mind. Ryan had bombed, and Ethan was being fought over by Harvard and Yale. She posted the familiar message, "That's my boy." At the same time, she extended an olive branch to Ethan. This time, I watched as Ethan opened the text message from his mother, inviting him to come live with her. Then, right in front of me, he deleted it. To achieve what I have today, there is one person I must thank, Ethan said, looking directly into the live news camera. And that is my father, David Miller. But Ms. Reyes also seemed very invested in your education. Why not thank your mother? Her. Ethan sneered. She had an affair, had a secret child, and tricked my dad into leaving the marriage with nothing. Does she even deserve to be called my mother? The reporter's microphone slipped from her grasp, hitting the floor with a thud. After the live broadcast, news stations went into a frenzy, digging up and spreading Isabella's scandalous history. The stock price of Reyes Holdings plummeted overnight. For the first time, Isabella voluntarily returned to the old house she despised. It's bad enough you wouldn't let Ethan come live a better life with me, but now you're telling him to slander me. I just laughed coldly. This was all Ethan's choice. You're the one who isn't good enough. You can only attract opportunistic flies like Ryan. She was angrier than I had ever seen her. She kicked over the wastebasket in frustration. You think I don't know how Ethan got his perfect score? He's been through the SATs once before. Of course he remembers the questions. Do you know what that's called? It's called cheating. She had tinged to sucks. I stood up. And Ryan didn't? How come he didn't get a good score? Isabella, you're really something else. Whoever ends up with you fails to get into college. Isabella's fists trembled. She couldn't very well admit that Ryan had been fooling around with Kenzie right up until the exams. She was a person who took everything for granted. She assumed that since he was the top scorer in the last life, he would be again in this one. She had no idea this was a long con orchestrated by me and Ethan. Her eyes fell to the crumpled paper on the floor. She frowned, then snatched it up. As she smoothed it out, her expression relaxed into a triumphant smile. I knew it. I knew it. These are all the original SAT questions. Ethan wrote them down from memory before the exam even happened. Tell me, if the media found out about this, what would happen to Ethan's future? My brow furrowed. It was true. To be absolutely sure, Ethan and I had worked together to recall the SAT questions from our past life. David, you'd better send Ethan to me and clear up those rumors. Otherwise, I will personally drag our son down from his pedestal. I clenched my fists. After a long moment, I suddenly burst out laughing. What are you laughing at? I'm laughing at how you're the same as you were in the last life. All bark and no bite. Isabella, you've never actually looked at the real SAT questions, have you? The color drained from Isabella's face. I continued, maybe the practice tests and championship questions were the same as last time, which is why Ryan could always stay at the top. But even I didn't expect this. The SATs were different from our last life. Perhaps this is where fate is most fair. The one exam that isn't about class or wealth. The one that allows the poor kid and the rich kid to compete on equal footing. Even reincarnation couldn't break its fairness. The questions looked similar to the last life, but the core concepts being tested were all new. The crumpled paper fell to the floor. Isabella's face was ashen. Isabella, we were married once. I don't want to make things ugly. How about this? Ryan took my life-saving surgery money in the last life. I can't forget that. You deal with him for me, and I'll try to persuade Ethan to go easy on you. I'll also help you clear things up with the public. After a few seconds, she nodded. David, I knew I wasn't wrong about you. Watching her leave, I snorted. Isabella was a classic businesswoman. Profit over people. To save her company, she sacrificed Ryan without a second thought. Kicked out of the family, Ryan was now worthless. The wealthy Mr. Thompson immediately called off the engagement between the two families. He came to me, practically on his knees. Dad, please talk to Mom. I'm going to be out on the streets. I feigned benevolence. How could you be on the streets? You still have a place to stay here, don't you? Ryan hesitated. But, Dad, could you please just talk to Mom? What? My place isn't good enough for you. Ryan's fists were clenched tightly. Dad, I'm a young master of the Reyes family. What stray dog is barking? A basin of water was splashed on him. Ethan shook the water from his hands after washing vegetables. Get lost. We don't have any bones for you here. You, Ethan, I'm your brother. Ethan cocked his head, sneered, and grabbed Ryan's chin viciously. In our last life, when you convinced Kenzie to drug me before the SATs, and then, after I found evidence, you convinced her to try to kill me, did you think of me as your brother then? My heart seized. He had never spoken of these things. No wonder his scores were so bad in the last life. It turned out, fury surged through me. I kicked Ryan to the ground. Get out. If you don't leave now, I'm calling the police. Ryan was now completely abandoned by both sides. Worse, he had been so certain he would be the top scorer that he hadn't even tried on his exams. He couldn't get into a decent school. His beloved Kenzie had blocked him. Isabella sent me a message. It's done. Now you should fulfill your promise. That same day, she was served with a summons to appear in court. The charges were adultery and the fraudulent sale of marital assets. David, I never knew you were such a heartless, treacherous bastard. In the courthouse break room, Isabella slammed her fists on the table, screaming at me. You were the one who proposed the deal, and you're the one who's backing out. Without me, have you lost even the most basic sense of decency? I roared with laughter. Decency? You have a nerve to talk to me about decency? I'm almost embarrassed for you, Isabella. Let's be honest. Even if I hadn't proposed that deal, were you not going to kick Ryan to the curb? And what you did to Ethan in our past life? You think I'd forget that? In our past life, the very day Isabella extended her offer to Ryan, she threw Ethan out onto the street. This was never a deal. It was just you taking the path of least resistance. My words made the veins in Isabella's neck bulge. She suppressed her rage, then let out a cold laugh. David, you've certainly grown a spine. But don't forget, you're still just a broke nobody. Even if my reputation is ruined, I still have a lot of money. Enough money to make sure the right people keep me safe. You think I've been in business all these years for nothing? I lower my gaze, saying nothing. David, I was going to give you a chance, but you blocked your own path. Since you want to go down in flames together, don't blame me for playing dirty. She stood up. See you in court. My fist hit the table hard. Of course, I knew about her resources. She had more than enough to crush a man who wasn't even middle class in a legal battle. Ethan poured me a glass of hot water, his face etched with worry. Dad, are you okay? Of course I am. I watched Isabella's retreating figure and slowly curled my lips into a smile. Fool. After all these years, it's time you return the money you've been holding for me. Dad. Ethan looked at me, puzzled. I took a sip of water, stood up, and ruffled his hair. Don't be afraid. Isabella's legal team was formidable. Any single member was a shark who had spent years fighting messy cases. When the trial began, she had me on the ropes. But I just smiled. Your Honor, I request to call a witness. The door opened. When she saw the witness, the color drained from Isabella's face. It was her new husband, the man she had divorced me for. He took the witness stand. Gentlemen, I do not agree with any of the statements made by my wife or her counsel. Isabella slammed the table. What are you talking about? The judge banged his gavel. Order. Please continue. The man gave Isabella a cold look and, one by one, refuted every point she had just made. It was true. I didn't have the resources to fight Isabella, but I had a talent for winning people over. Having lived once before, I knew what the people around me needed and what they were willing to do to get it. As expected, for matters of the heart, only the person sleeping next to you can deliver the fatal blow. I sat at the plaintiff's table, listening to Isabella's second husband tear her testimony apart. But soon, the team of sharks found a legal loophole, arguing that the witness's testimony could not be admitted as evidence and requested it be struck from the record. I just waved my hand. It's fine. I have plenty of witnesses. The door opened again. It was one of Isabella's many lovers. She shot up from her seat with a gasp. You found quite a few men over the years. What a shame that in the end, they all ended up as witnesses for me. The veins on Isabella's neck bulged. She pressed her fists on the table, and as she opened her mouth to speak, she fainted. Ever since my rebirth, I had been planning today's lawsuit. I only delayed it to protect Ethan and ensure he could focus on his exams. For all these years, Isabella had essentially been saving my money for me. Men won't always fight to the death over a woman. As long as their interests align, they can absolutely join forces to take a woman down. Unfortunately for Isabella, she was not a good woman. The men she attracted were all capable of turning against her, and all of them were potential allies for me. With the combined efforts of our group, we sued Isabella for everything she was worth. I split the profits with my new allies. Some of the professional lovers, in a show of gratitude, provided me with evidence of tax evasion they had gathered on Mr. Thompson while working for his wife. I immediately turned around and sued the Thompson Corporation as well. More people joined my cause, and after we brought down Mr. Thompson, they were richly rewarded. I stood on the top floor of the Thompson building, looking out the floor-to-ceiling windows, and let out a long breath. Ethan, Dad got revenge for you. Ethan's eyes turned red. In the 4 years that followed, I never saw Ryan again, but I had no time to think about them. For one thing, my company was expanding into overseas markets. For another, Ethan had been accepted into a graduate program at one of the top 3 universities in the world, and I was busy helping him celebrate. And third, I was getting remarried. As the car drove past our old neighborhood, I saw a couple with a baby, arguing. Looking closer, I saw it was Ryan and Kenzie. They had lost all of their former glamour. He looked exhausted, holding the child, while she, a cigarette dangling from her lips, denied the lipstick stains on her neck. 2 fallen people who had found their way back to each other in the end. A pity that the cost of baby formula was enough to fuel their daily fights. I didn't stop. I accelerated and left the street behind. The dark past was behind us. The road ahead was bright.